This is Lesson 3, Session 3, where we are breaking apart figures to find volume. Try it. This is page 43 of your workbook. Bethany has a raised garden bed. The diagram shows its measurements. All the corners are right angles. If she fills the bed to the top with soil, how many cubic feet of soil will Bethany need? So to think about this problem, I am actually going to break this figure apart. The first thing that we need to do in order to find the volume of a figure like this is break it into two rectangular prisms. So here I have two rectangular prisms. I have the longer one that is orange and I have this smaller one that is blue. So to break these apart, we'll just slide that one out of the way. And what we have here is this piece that was covered up by that square that we moved away. So we can tell that it is 6 feet long because that is the length of the part that we moved away. And so the entire length of this rectangular prism, the orange one, is 12 feet. So we can use this information to find the volume of both of our prisms. So this larger one, it has a length of 12, a width of 6, and I know that it has a height of 2 feet because it is the same height as the other part of the shape. So when we multiply them, we multiply length times width times height. So 12 times 6 times 2. I am going to choose to multiply 6 times 2 first to get 12, and then 12 times 12 equals 144. So the volume of the first shape, the first rectangular prism, is 144 cubic feet. Now let's find the volume of the other section. We have a length of 6, a width of 4, and a height of 2. So we are going to multiply 6 times 4 times 2. Okay, and I'm going to choose to multiply 4 times 2 first. 4 times 2 is 8, and 6 times 8 is 48. So the blue section is 48 cubic feet. So to find the volume of the entire shape, we are going to add the volume of the first rectangular prism to the volume of the second rectangular prism. So 144 plus 48. And when we add those together, we get 192 cubic feet. Model it. This is what we just looked at. You can break apart the garden bed into two rectangular prisms this way. One rectangular prism measures 6 feet by 4 feet by 2 feet. That's the blue section. The other rectangular prism measures 12 feet by 6 feet by 2 feet. That's the orangey pink section. Again, you break it apart into two rectangular prisms, find a volume of each, and then add those volumes together. You can also break it apart the other direction. So if we split it into two shapes this way, we have one rectangular prism, this orangey colored one, that is 10 feet times 6 feet times 2 feet. Now you might be thinking, how did we get 10? So this side right here, we don't have the length labeled. So we can figure that out by knowing that this side plus this side, when you put those together, it is the same length as this whole thing. So 4 feet plus 6 feet equals 10 feet, which is the length of that entire side. The other rectangular prism measures 6 feet by 6 feet by 2 feet. When we find the volume of each of those sections, we get the same answer, 192 cubic feet. Connect it. Look at the first model it. How can you find the volume of each rectangular prism? To find the volume of each rectangular prism, you multiply the length times the width times the height. Number 2, how can you find the volume of the entire garden bed? First, you divide the shape into 2 separate rectangular prisms, find the volume of each rectangular prism, and add the volumes together. Number 3, what is the volume of the entire garden bed? Show your work. The volume of the entire garden bed is 192 cubic feet. Number 4, look at the second modellet. Show how to use the expression to find the volume of the garden bed if you break it apart this way. When you evaluate an expression, do the operations in parentheses first. So in the second modellet, we had 6 feet times 10 feet times 2 feet. So we would write 6 times 10 times 2. And when we multiply 6 times 10 times 2, 6 times 10 is 60, and 60 times 2 is 120. So the first section had a volume of 120 cubic feet. The other rectangular prism was 6 feet by 6 feet by 2 feet. So we take 6 times 6 times 2. And I'm going to choose to multiply 6 times 2 first. 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 times 6 is 72. So the volume of the second rectangular prism is 72 cubic feet. To find the volume of the entire shape, we need to add these two volumes together, 120 plus 72. And when we add them together, we still get 192 cubic feet. Number 5, do you need to break apart a solid figure in a certain way to find its volume? Use the problem from the previous page to explain your reasoning. No, you do not need to break apart a solid figure in a certain way to find the volume. As long as you can break the figure into non-overlapping parts, into rectangular prisms, and find the volume of each part, you can add the volumes together to get the total volume. Moving on to number 7. The Recreation Center has an L-shaped pool. One part of the pool is 8 meters by 6 meters. The other part is 12 meters by 6 meters. The whole pool is 4 meters deep. What is the volume of the entire pool? Show your work. So to find the volume of the first section of the pool, we see that it is 8 meters long and 6 meters wide. We also see that the whole pool is 4 meters deep. So we would multiply 8 times 6 times 4 to get the volume of the first part. So 8 times 6 is 48, and 48 times 4 is 192. The other part is 12 meters long and 6 meters wide, and then we know that it is also 4 meters deep. So we would multiply 12 times 6 times 4. 12 times 6 is 72, and 72 times 4 is 288. In order to find the volume of the entire pool, we add together the volumes of both sections, 192 plus 288. And when we add those two volumes together, we get an answer of 480 cubic meters. Number 8. What is the volume of the solid figure below? Show your work. The first thing we want to do to find the volume of this figure is divide it into 2 parts. And I'm going to choose to divide it right there. So we have a smaller rectangular prism on the top and a larger one on the bottom. The top rectangular prism, we know that this entire side is 30 centimeters from one corner to the other corner, but we just want this right here, just the top section. So how can we figure that out? Well, if we know this entire thing is 30, I know that this section right here is 20. And I know that because it's the same as the other side. This side is 20, so this side is 20, so this side is also 20. So if the entire thing is 30 and this section is 20 centimeters, that means that this section must be 10 centimeters. Now we just need to find this side right here, this long one. I know that this is 30 centimeters because it's the same as this and it's the same as this. These sides are all the same length. And this one is 30, which means that this one is 30 and this one is also 30. So to find the volume of the smaller prism on top, we would multiply 10 times 10 times 30. 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 times 30 is 3,000. Now to find the volume of the larger prism on the bottom. We have a length of 30, a width of 30, and a height of 20. So we would multiply 30 times 20. To make this a little easier on myself, I'm going to ignore the zeros at the start and multiply 3 times 3, which is 9, and 9 times 2, which is 18. Now I'm going to pay attention to those zeros. I count 1, 2, 3 zeros in my problem, so I'm going to add 3 zeros to my answer. So the larger rectangular prism on the bottom has a volume of 18,000 cubic centimeters. In order to find the volume of the entire figure, we would add 3,000 plus 18,000. So the entire figure has a volume of 21,000 cubic centimeters. Number 9. What is the volume of the solid figure below? Show your work. The first thing we do to find the volume of this figure is to divide it into two parts. I'm going to divide it this way. So the top rectangular prism, we know that it has a length of 2. The width isn't labeled, but it's the same as this one. Okay. So this right here is the same as this right here. So the width is 3. And the height is 4. So 2 times 3 times 4 will give me the volume of the top part. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 4 is 24. Now to find the volume of the bottom part. The length is 8. The width is 3. And the height we're going to have to figure out. This entire side we know is 6. We know that this part of it is 4. So this section right here we know is 4. And if the entire thing is 6, this part right here is 4, that means that this must be 2. So it must have a height of 2. So 8 times 3 times 2, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times 8 is 48. So to find the volume of the entire figure, we add 24 plus 48 for an answer of 72 cubic feet. Thank you for joining me for Lesson 3, Session 3.